Erza versus Wed has to be probably the biggest missed opportunity and biggest disappointment in 100 Years Quest. Yes, 100 Years Quest has a lot of things to criticize, be disappointed, or basically have wasted potential on, but I legitimately think that Erza versus Wed could have been one of the best fights for 100 Years Quest, and it had proper setup, build-up, and hype behind it, and even did something that really felt important for Erza in terms of having a real opponent in this section of the story, while also giving us a reason for why Wed is pushing himself in the way that he is. But before we jump into things, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It really helps, shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. And don't forget to hype up the video as well to boost it in the algorithm to help find more fairy tale fans to share this video with, so we can keep the community growing and just active as much as possible. But with that out of the way, let's jump right into this discussion. So, Erza vs. Wed was something that happened at the beginning of the current arc in the manga at the point we're recording this video, which might be done for all I know. We're starting another arc. But when Erza was at the port, as everybody was getting information on, Fire and Flame and Ignia and the Fire Dragon God, Erza was confronted with Wed, a tall, towering man in incredibly cool-looking armor with a big-ass sword, wanting to challenge Erza as she is said to be the strongest swordswoman in all of Ishgard. And so he wanted to test his strength and to find someone as an equal to fully defeat, to show who was truly at the pinnacle of the blade. Okay, nice, simple setup, right? We have someone who has heard of Erza, and he wants to fight her because she is deemed to be one of the strongest swords fighters in her continent, especially after everything that has happened with the battle against Alvarez over a year prior to these current events. Now, Wed, we have no real knowledge of, but we do know that he wanted to fight Erza before Ignia enacted his plan, which we later learned was the true Dragon King's Festival, and to enact the spell Universe Omega to turn everybody into dragons. And so Wed wanted to prove himself strong as a human against probably one of the strongest humans that he knows, primarily in terms of sword-on-sword combat. So with that knowledge, okay, we're building up to an interestingly fun character that could be a type of rival-esque character for Erza. Their fight goes on. Erza is kind of pulled aback by Wed's pure strength, to the point where Wed using his fire magic for the first time against Erza, and Erza having to use celestial body magic enchantments on her sword, which is a really cool way of utilizing her re-equip magical abilities with celestial body magic, a really cool and to an extent somewhat kind of broken physical way of fighting, but that's besides the point. I'd have to make a video on celestial body magic at some point. I have to get back to explaining videos. Anyway, this was also pushing Erza in this fight. He was basically a real human with strong fire-based powers, combined that with his swordsmanship, and Erza re-equipping to the best suitable powers and armors and blades that she could, alongside her heavenly body enchantments, to seemingly match Wed, but she was still on the back foot, until their fight got interrupted by misfortune, because Wed was too late in finishing the fight, improving his strength before the true Dragon King's Festival would inevitably begin. And the next time we see Wed was after everything going on with Ignia about to fight Ferris, and Erza going to where Alderon's location was to destroy the whole Lacrima. And instead, we get to see Wed in his new dragon form. Now, obviously, it's like humanoid dragon-esque, but even still, his armor changed. It was a really cool black. He had wings, he had a tail, and his strength was upgraded to an insane degree as the rematch began, because their fight was interrupted previously. We knew Erza was somewhat on the back foot in their first fight, but now Wed, with the full strength of being turned into a dragon, was really pushing things. And it's in this fight we learned that Wed is the son of Ignia, a half-human, half-dragon, but his human traits pretty much, well, took the main aspect of his body, which is why he wanted to prove he was strong as a human before becoming a dragon, because he wanted to show that he was the strongest of humanity in terms of swordsmanship, and then when he became a dragon, he would fully be worthy of being the son of the fire dragon god, and his rightful place as a dragon, because obviously if you're the child of a literal dragon, who is so strong that people will think of as a god, you're going to have a bit of a complex if you're born as just a plain old human in comparison. So, with those aspects, we have built up a relatively interesting character. I won't say he's like the deepest character in all of fairy tale or fiction or whatever the hell, but we have a nice character to fight against Erza. Because in contrast, Erza is the child of a dragon as well. Obviously her mother was human before being turned into a dragon due to Dragon Slayer magic, but the circumstances are somewhat similar. But Erza fought as a human and embraced her humanity, while Wed, while wanting to prove his strength before turning into a dragon, already rejected his humanity because he wanted to be more like his father, the fire dragon god, and embraced becoming a dragon. So we have these two conflicting characters with different ways of thinking, ideals, with similar origins in a way. That is a cool and interesting fight. We could have had something like that. And that's where the missed opportunity comes in, because while the fight, the glimpses and sections of it that we got to see in this second round with Dragon Wed against Erza, Erza was struggling. This was her first one-on-one fight in a bit in 100 Years Quest, where she was legitimately struggling in both instances against the same character. And in the second option, they were stronger than before, so she was already on the back foot, which wanted people to believe that Erza would potentially awaken dragon powers or find some way to beat Wed in a more smarter way. Because when you have a character fight someone stronger than them, yeah, you can have a power boost or a new ability manifest out of nowhere, but a lot of times you just want people to utilize their powers in a fun way. We see Erza capable of using heavenly body magic, and she has Dragon Slayer enchantments. So we could have found a way to have her utilize all those with some of her strongest blades and armors to counter Wed, or at least even the playing field. Have her experiment in the middle of a fight, because it's life or death. That is something we could do because Erza is a battle genius and knows how to fight. She knows her arsenal well, and being pushed like this could have her try and utilize her powers in a much more creative and on-the-nose spot to come up with something that would work. Wed is relying primarily on his brute force and his fire abilities with his updated dragon powers. So we basically have the making of a really cool technical fight that could happen. Someone that has abilities that can be used more strategically and in more creative ways, potentially, against someone that's primarily going with brute force. He's never really shot out any, complex spells, just big burst attacks that can erupt the ground in fire. Big AoE of spells, but still just relying purely on brute force. Erza is speed and might, so it makes sense why this would be in her favor, but Wed is compensating for everything due to his enhanced abilities, which we can then use for its full extent narratively as a contrast between these two characters. We could build more into Erza and any lingering feelings she has towards her mother Irene with the whole dragon stuff, as she's facing somebody that could have been a mirror reflection of her had things go differently. And if Wed potentially knew about Erza's mother, I do not remember if he knows that she is a daughter of the mother of dragons, but he could see her as a mere reflection of himself, as a weaker version of himself, viewing Erza as someone that's neglected her seemingly birthright to be one of the strongest creatures on the planet, to just be a feeble human that he sees himself in. We have that juxtaposition built into this fight. We had the setup beforehand as it being just primarily pure skill, and now it is going to be a bit more personal for the two of them, now with the dragon aspect added into it, as, yeah, these could be reflections of each other with different circumstances, thus giving us some more thematic relevance for why these two are being pitted against each other. But then Natsu shows up, finds out Wed is his nephew, and is like, alright, let me beat his ass, and then we move on, and he takes over the fight against Wed and dominates him where Erza was struggling. I always hated that. I would have preferred if Natsu just left in this instance, maybe one-shot Raj, and then go off to find Ignia like he was initially going to after the Fire and Flame fight. But no, we had him fight Wed, the semi-leader of Fire and Flame outside of Ignia and Bestia, who was off fighting Ferris, while Ignia was going to free the Calamity Bloods. And that's where the Fire and Flame section of the story just got thrown out the window, because it just felt like, for some reason, Mashima just wanted to get from one point to the other, and so instead of fleshing out Erza versus Wed more, fleshing what probably could have been a really well-written fight that could have added more to Wed as a character, dig deeper into his own insecurities, and just fleshed him out a bit more, was just thrown away for just having Natsu be the one to beat his own nephew, essentially. Treating him like he's nothing, thus undermining the whole fight with Erza, taking away any sense of tension whatsoever. And that was already something that, during the Vierta section, felt kind of, low in terms of tension. Because even now, people still don't believe that there's any actual tension in Hunter's Quest, especially with some recent developments in the manga. But at the same time, I cannot fully understand that, because especially in this section of the story, it really felt like things were just not really built up for to have any meaningful payoff. And that sucks. Wed vs. Erza could have been a slam dunk if Mashima really put his all into writing at least this fight for Fire and Flame against Fairy Tail. If this one fight was him putting in his A game, like you would certain other fights in other Hunter's Quest, or primarily in Main Fairy Tail, Eden Zero, or even Dead Rock, then this could have made the arc at least a bit more enjoyable, because it would add more to it as a character. And despite the rest of the arc seemingly not having much in terms of like stakes and tension for the most part, it would at least given Erza a meaningful fight, and one that she truly had to earn by facing a some way, shape, or form dark reflection of herself if things had gone differently, giving her a bit more development in Hunter's Quest, considering that her main story arcs and stuff like that have been finished in mainline Fairy Tail. So we could have gotten like a nice bow at the end of it, facing someone that's the child of a dragon like herself, but gave up on humanity and wanted to be the dragon, while she herself is just fully embraced her humanity and her found family to become their protector. And it just felt like it could have been just that well done and that simple at the same time. But unfortunately, Mashima probably just wanted to move on to the next big thing, which was the Calamity Bloods, and was like, alright, I'm done with Fire and Flame for now, let's just move on, because I want to introduce these guys, then I want to do that, then I want to do that, and that, and that, and that, and then a whole bunch of stuff happens. So, yeah. It's a shame, it sucks, and this is definitely one of the biggest missed opportunities in 100 Years Quest, in my honest opinion. And we were robbed of a really cool and potentially very well-meaning fight that would have made this arc a lot better. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section down below. How do you feel about Erza versus Wed and how that turned out? Do you agree with me in terms of how this fight could have been something really well done, with at least a bit of meaning towards it and expanding more on Wed as a character, and give a nice tie-up bow for Erza's character in 100 Years Quest and give her more of a challenge? Or do you think I'm overgeneralizing it and just thinking way too much about this? Let me know in the comment section down below. And what's more, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and hype up the video. Shows you guys enjoy the videos I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more, which gives me motivated to keep making more videos like this. And with all that said and done, hope you all have an awesome day. Hey, remember when Wed's face wasn't revealed during those sections of that arc, and everybody for some reason thought Simon was somehow still alive and was the one underneath the armor? Despite how ludicrously stupid that was, people thought that was the case. That crazy times, people. Crazy times.